We are joined here today with a new friend of mine, Areeb Islam. He came all the way from South Africa just to come to Mansfield, Ohio, small city of Mansfield, Ohio. Areeb Islam has extensive knowledge in comparative religions and different topics that I have no idea about. So today we're going to pick his brain and kind of ask him some questions. You know, me being I'm Muslim, of course, and he's a revert. How long have you been a Muslim?
11 years now, alhamdulillah.
11 years,
Jeez,
okay.
jeez.
So this is coming, I was born a Muslim, and a lot of you guys know that, you know, we take it for granted. We kind of mix our Islam with, you know, the cultural baggage and, you know, what our parents taught us, and especially, you know, my brothers, they're first generation American. I was born in India, but I came here when I was 3 years old, so I'm American, you know, and I don't identify myself as Indian or Pakistani. I'm Muslim and I'm American. That's it, you know. And these days, especially with, you know, all this talk in the media about Islam being terrorism and anti-women and anti-civil rights and all these crazy topics, you know, I know that's not true.
Yes,
but
yeah.
I mean, someone that has, you know, the average Muslim, the youth in America, they're kind of borderline, you know. It's basically if they are, you know, practicing, it's kind of like they're practicing with the cultural baggage, you know. They go to Jummah prayers, you know, Friday prayers, they go to Jummah prayers, they go to Eid prayers, you know, some don't even go to Jummah prayers. I mean, majority of the youth, when I mean youth, I'm talking about, you know, 18 to 30 years old. I mean, that's not, I guess, that's young adults.
Young
at
heart.
But in Islam, youth is all the way till 40. Is that correct?
Exactly right.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, you have a unique perspective because you've been to many different Muslim countries. Can you kind of elaborate on where you traveled?
Sure. What was interesting what you said is that you said that you are a Muslim American. And I think that is very, very important, that we all realize that we're Muslims first, no matter what country we come from. We can be Muslim South African, Muslim Italian, Muslim American. And sometimes we have the reverse the other way around. We say we're American Muslims or South African Muslims. And I think it's beautiful that we have our identity as Muslims, no matter where you go. I mean, coming here to America, you see people of all different nationalities, all different backgrounds, all different cultures, but they're Muslim first. Their cultural identity is something that is secondary to that. And you're right, many of the youngsters that are coming into the mosque, young people, young at heart people, it's sort of a ritual. The mosque has become something that, well, it's like a good luck charm. Let's just go there and do the bare minimum that we have to do as a Muslim, so that, well, when we pass from this life into the next life, you know, we may just make it into heaven because we just did the rituals that we're meant to do. And it's beautiful to see some of the young people, because not all young people at heart are like that. Some of them are dedicated and they're coming every single time to the mosque. You know, they're early there for a Jummah. They're excited about Islam. So alhamdulillah, we have both. But in America, I'm gonna have good, bad, and the ugly.
This is not really an interview. This is more like a discussion. So I'm gonna be myself, okay? And I want you to be yourself. And me being myself, I tend to interrupt conversations. My wife gets really mad too. You know, she'll be talking, you know, and
no problem.
I'm gonna just kind of be like, actually, that's not right, or oh, what do you think about this? So don't get offended. You know,
Inshallah,
this is gonna be. I think it's a great format because I just want you to not know what the questions are and kind of just go on the fly, you know. Have you guys used that term in South Africa?
Yes,
on
we
the
use
fly?
the word, yeah. So it'll be like one of those talk shows where we have no idea what's going to come.
So someone might come back behind you and just ram the car, you know. But thank God it's a one-way street going that way. Okay, but let me ask you. Let me segue back into. Let me know a little bit about yourself. Like what? When did you become Muslim? And tell me your life before Islam. You know, not the cliche like, you know, I found. I mean, I want to know, what was your life like? I mean, were you like you know, some crazy, you know, like, I don't know, when were you born? Like in the
60s, 70s, yeah, 60s and 70s.
60s, 70s. So I don't know what it was like. Hippie era. So I mean, were you kind of crazy? You know, what was your life like as a pre-Islam, and then what made you change into a Muslim?
Well, one of the beautiful things about being, before I became a Muslim and becoming a Muslim, the only thing that changed is my spiritual life and my value system. Otherwise, I still remained the same Caucasian Muslim person that I was before. Often people think that when you become a Muslim, you're going to lose your identity, you're going to lose your culture, you're going to lose who you are. you still keep that.
What
but
about
the
like?
good parts,
I mean, what about like were you, I mean, I don't want to, go too detail into your past, but like, were you like the typical like college student, and frats and all that stuff, and then, or did you have a typical like non-Muslim lifestyle, where you go to the bars or whatever?
Not really. I had a very, you would say, quite a religious upbringing. A very conservative upbringing, and I, from a very, very young age, understood that there is a God. Very, very young. From about 4, 5, 6 years old, I really realized that there is a God and I needed to serve Him. So I was one of those religious kids, those ones that irritate you?
Oh, yeah.
The religious types?
Yeah.
I was one of those guys. So
it's funny how you said that. I'll tell you a story afterwards.
So when people saw me coming, they said, "Oh, this guy's one of those religious freaks." And so I had
like
that
a
label.
Bible thumper.
I was a Bible basher from young.
Okay.
And so the first thing
you'd be Bible thumper.
Yeah.
Thumper is like, Bible bashers, maybe you became.
Not bashing.
Bible thumper is like, hey, it's like, this is the Bible, and it's the Word of God, and, whatever. But we'll get into that.
I was that type of guy.
Okay, yeah.
So when I was young, I got involved in the church very young, and I was an altar boy. Not an altered boy, an altar boy in the Catholic Church. Today there's lots of scandals about altered boys. No,
okay. Right.
That's why I said I'm not altered. Because a lot of people go, Catholic altar boy, okay, we know, oh shame, we feel so sorry for you. It wasn't none of those things. It was those days when the Catholic priest was still scared of doing things like that, fortunately. Well, they weren't, maybe,
no,
I was just
I know,
fortunate.
I don't want to, I'm not a, I don't want to
no problem.
stereotype everything,
But alhamdulillah, I was very fortunate. I had a good priest, and he taught me basically the truth of what I understood in that time period, the truth that I was able to understand. And that was that there is a God that you need to serve, that you need to love. And so I accepted that. Mm-hmm. So I became very involved in the church from a very young age, served in the church in any way I could. So I grew up with that very strong religious belief and got involved in the youth, was that youth leader in the church, was that youth leader in the community and school. You have the MSA in school. Mm-hmm. I was that MSA leader.
What's MSA, like
Muslim Student Association.
But like Christian
But it was a Christian version, which is the Student Christian Association.
Oh, okay.
So everyone, you are going to become a priest when you leave high school. That was it. Like there was no other choice. And so that's the road that I took. I was a religious person whole life. That doesn't mean I was a little angel. Of course I was up to mischief, and of course I was up to things that were wrong, but I was very good at hiding that.
Did you have any exposure when you were older, maybe, I'm guessing you took Islam in your late 20s?
Yeah, I took it in 30s actually, but
mid-30s?
Yeah.
Okay, so
mid-30s.
Let's just say in your 20s, were you even stronger in your own belief system?
I was, yes. I was very determined that Christianity was like the only way, the truth, and the life. I was involved with evangelism and missionary works. I was that guy that you'd see standing on the road, handing out pamphlets and harassing people when they walked into shopping complexes.
Did you have any experience with Muslims?
I did, and not very good ones, because I would say that I was terrorizing people.
Well, see, you're a pretty tall guy. I mean, you're about
6'4".
Yeah, 6'4". I mean,
I can be a bit scary.
I'm like 5'5", right? And, but I mean, I'm short, but I'm not. Yeah. I don't take anything for anybody. But there's a lot of people. You were in Durban. Is that correct?
That's correct.
There's a lot of Indians and Pakistanis in Durban.
Yes.
And I think they have, being Indian origin and descent. I think they have that mentality of like, the white guy is like scary superior,
guy, yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm generalizing, but
it also helps that I look a little bit like the Prophet Isa, peace be upon him. So they're a little bit scared because he looks like that guy.
Was there any like one or two experiences that you remember as a young adult that you had with a non-Muslim, non-Christian, be it Hindu or Muslim?
Well, there's two interesting stories.
And tell me that story.
One was I was invited to somebody's house to have a meal after I had preached that day. At the service, I'd preached to the community, a church service, and afterwards one of the Indian families invited me to their homes, a Christian family. And as I walked into the house, there was a beautiful smell of chicken cooking and roast potatoes. And that Sunday lunch.
Yeah, and did that smell leave with you also?
It was so beautiful. No, but as I walked into their house, I couldn't wait to eat the food. I was like so excited to eat their food. But when the food arrived on the table, there was this beautiful chicken, but there was glazed little flies that had been burnt into the chicken. Like flies.
Oh, yeah.
And they're little insects that had been cooked with the chicken, but they hadn't noticed it. I think when they opened it, the flies flew in and they just kept baking it. And I immediately lost my appetite.
So that's
one of the things that really stuck out. And I often use that in talks, and I say, like, you know, you have to be careful there's no dead flies in your religion.
Yeah.
You know, it might look good, might smell good, but it tastes terrible. You're not going to eat it. And the second one was when I saw a Muslim family. I remember one day at the beach, the ocean, the real ocean, the one with the waves, not the ocean at a dam or a river.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was this Muslim family, and I remember going up to one of the women and physically grabbing hold of her and saying, "You can be free, you don't have to wear these, you know, these ridiculous oppressive outfits."
But didn't you
how the Muslims didn't beat me up,
But didn't you realize that nuns wear the same habits and whatnot?
See, you get indoctrinated over the years, and you start to believe the hype that everyone says, "Oh, they are like oppressed. How can you wear that? That's not freedom." To have true freedom, you have to buy the cosmetics that the media is feeding you to wear, buy the clothes that the media are feeding you to wear. And our secular woman, or our non-Muslim woman, you look at the way they are bound and chains to buy these products.
Well, yeah, they got to wear
this.
Yeah, exactly, and look good for the guys, you know.
And they're more slaves.
Yeah,
they become bigger slaves to the system.
Yeah.
So those are the two things that stand out immediately when you ask me without like thinking too much into it.
So what was that turning point, a catalyst, I guess you can say, to go into Islam?
I was asked to do a lecture, a talk to some young people in my congregation. We had about 3,000 people. And the topic was men and women's relationships. Mm-hmm. Like boys and girls. Can they date? Can they go out? Can they get to know each other? Can they go watch a film together? Go to watch a cinema? You know, that type of thing. How far can they go? Can they kiss? Can they hold hands? Can they hug?
Yeah,
like how
like
far
courtship
stuff.
Yeah.
And so I started looking through the Bible. Thought this is an easy topic. Let me go through the Old Testament, see what they say about that. And I couldn't find anything in the Old Testament that even remotely mentions that. I looked through the New Testament again, couldn't find anything. So I thought, well, let me look at other world scriptures. So I looked at the writings of Buddha, the writings of Hinduism, like the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, the Psalms. None of them I could find anything that said anything about dating. So the final book that I was prepared to look at was the Quran. And that I picked up, and I didn't know how to read it. I didn't know where to start. So I went to the back where it has the index, like A, B, C, D, looked under woman, and I read all the verses dealing with women. Then I read all the verses reading about men. And I was shocked at how beautiful it was and how practical it was with just simple things. How men must behave, how women must behave.
But you weren't scared because you were brought up as a Christian, and then here it is, you know, you're kind of seeing some positive stuff in Islam. So was it kind of scary to you? Or
I didn't believe it. I just thought, wow, this is practical stuff. At least they're showing their people how to live, you know, where our book is very vague as the Bible. And so this was the beginning of a 1-year voyage into the Quran.
Yeah.
Not a voyage into Islam, but a voyage into the Quran, where each time I started to look deeper into the Quran, it started to make more sense to me. So the day that I was presenting my lecture in the church to this congregation of people, I started off with the following lines. And this was the last time I also spoke in church. This was the final sermon I gave. I opened by saying, Islam has everything to offer Christianity, but Christianity has nothing to offer Islam. And all the people were getting very worried because everything that I said for the next 45 minutes was pro-Islam, even though I had no interest in becoming a Muslim. Just simply looking at the text in their book and the way that the Quran was teaching was attracting me towards it without me even realizing it. Mm-hmm. And so this is the 1-year period that brought me closer and closer to Islam. And eventually, after speaking to brothers at an organization in South Africa.
What was the name of that organization?
It was the late Sheikh Ahmed Deedat's organization.
Okay. So you studied under him?
Yes, and I actually met him, and I met with him a couple of times. I debated against him when I was younger, argued with him many times in his office. So it was his organization and his work that sort of brought me into the final part, the final hour, where I came to accept Islam. And it was when they explained to me the simplicity of Tawheed, the simplicity of who God is. That was the final nail, if you want to call it. I don't think nail in the coffin would be the right word, but it was the final seal that dropped that penny into my head, into my brain. And then
final punch to the face.
Exactly, and it sunk from my head to my heart.
Sense either,
from my head to my heart, they both connected.
Yeah, okay.
Where it had been just intellectual.
Yeah.
This time it actually moved to being also emotional. So the intellectual and the emotional connected. And then I was able to make that decision and connect. And that was the day I took Shahada.
We're going to take a quick break in a few minutes, in
Yeah.
a minute or so. So what's some websites they can go
Well,
to?
they can go to areebislam.com.
Okay.
Areeb.
Okay, we'll have that. You'll see that on the bottom
ISLAM.com.
here. Yeah.
There it is. Right
Yeah.
there.
Okay. There it is. Now I gotta edit that. Thanks a lot. Now. But okay, we're gonna take a quick break. Okay, so we'll be right back and okay, go to the website. All right.